Lions at Packers, another Sunday battle. This is NFC North, formerly the NFC Central division, near and dear to my heart. Black and blue division, here we go. Lions, Packers, these offensive lines. I really didn't even have to go one side. Sometimes we just go one side of the ball for House Fight of the Week. This is both sides of the ball. We got some good offensive lines. We got some interesting defensive lines, some good defensive lines. A player that's been in the news lately. So we'll start with that side of the ball. Lions have the ball with their offensive line with a couple stars on it, and a star and a couple remade pieces on the interior trio. And you got the Packers defense adding Micah Parsons, of course, from the Cowboys. So when the Lions have the ball in this game, Charles, what's grabbing your attention? Which matchup of this Haas fight grabbing your attention?
Oh man, I'm turning to my first forwards piece of the year, and I was kind of going over some of the NFC North stuff, and I'm looking like it's Micah Parsons' back injury, and I'm like, bro, I don't care about that at all. I don't know, I just don't care about that. Being 35 with a back injury is different than being 26 with a back injury, right? And it's Micah Parsons, so I'm not really too concerned about that. Man, they were on ESPN this morning. They were showing clips of Parsons at practice and like him going through the hoops and like doing the bend on the pass rush stuff. I'm like, this is what you look like with a hurt back. You look like a damn wide receiver out there. So I'm really not too concerned about that. And to me, like, that's obviously the matchup, not just for the storyline, but we know how Jared Goff kind of struggles when he gets under pressure sometimes. It's got a new interior offensive line. We've talked about that. Frank Ragnow retired due to injury. You've got Taylor Ratledge starting, Chris Mahogany, who we like, but was a 6th-round pick last year. So there's a lot going on in the interior. So if I'm the Packers, man, I'm putting Micah Parsons over Taylor Decker and fight for your life. Like that's what I think the game plan has to be. Because if they don't get pressure, which I don't know. I kind of just don't see how they won't be able to now that you have Micah Parsons. I think it could get scary with these wide receivers against these cornerbacks. If they can get on the outside where you have Jameson Williams or even Amon-Ra St. Brown in the slack, because he's really tough to guard. So I think just getting pressure on Goff will be the key. And it's going to be the key for the Lions all season, because if it's blocked up right, he can shred you. If things are up in the middle field, we know that if it's a good picture, he can get it done. But when it's muddy, he really struggles. And I know people are going to say, "Oh, but look at his numbers versus pressure versus blitz last year." And there, I know that to me that was just more a function of ecosystem more than anything. And with a new interior offensive line, it's going to be a lot harder this year.
I've been struggling with the Lions, and we did our preview show yesterday, and I had them missing the playoffs. I'm kind of regretting it, not going to lie, Lions fans, because I think I've been underrating your defense a little bit. If we'll get to that side of the ball in a second, but really just the offense too. It's just that, well, got to see what the offensive coordinator is all about, and John Morton. But just looking at the offensive line, I like Mahogany. He still was a 6th-round pick. Graham Glasgow, who is probably better at center than guard, is just not Frank Ragnow. So even if I think he's fine, it's just that you're going from what I would consider probably the 2nd-best center in the game to a fine center. That's still a drop-off. So maybe Glasgow, Mahogany are kind of interchangeable at guard. And then Tank Ratledge, who had nice had a nice preseason and everything. They tried him at center too. That didn't go well. But he's still a rookie guard, day 2 guard. And that's just kind of where some of this interest lies, because Micah Parsons will move across the formation. He can line up on the interior and pick the guy. And that's what they call him, the fish. Defensive line coaches, who's the fish that we're hooking. So they're going to watch this tape, and they're probably, if I'm looking at it, they're probably going over the center and the left guard or the right guard. And they're just going to kind of figure out some things with number 1 now, because Micah Parsons is wearing number 1, not number 11, which reminds me of, I'm going to repeat this, Justin Mosqueda, our guy Justice from the Acme Packing Company. Did you see his tweet? Said, it's like Dallas fans. His podcast is kind of annoying. And then it says Green Bay fans, take the number of the guy who the stadium was named after and has been used in 99 years. We'll do anything. Just to give Micah Parsons number 1. It's so true, though.
Doesn't matter.
She was like, yeah, sure,
right.
whatever you want.
What do you want, Micah? You want to wear a jersey that says X on it? Go for it, man. Whatever you need, pal. Because
whatever you want. Whatever you want.
It's game changing. It's just such a game changer move, man. And
league changing move.
Right. League changing. And the Packers, like they've been setting themselves up for years now to get rid of Kenny Clark. Like that wasn't even like a big move in the grand scheme of things because they were probably going to get rid of him after the season. We've talked about Devontae Wyatt and I forget the other guy's name that they have on the interior.
Oh, Carl Brooks. Carl Brooks. Yes.
Right. So that was their contingency plan. And honestly, we're talking about nose tackles here, right? You know, you don't need to like break the bank on those guys. Just find someone who can kick some ass in there like every couple plays, and then we'll get after them on third down. And now you have Micah Parsons, who gets a rush with Rashawn Gary. Like that's such a good pass rush, man. I like the spine in that defense is so damn good. It's just if you can, you just kind of have to hope that you can beat the Lions up enough up front that maybe it doesn't turn into a finesse game, because I do think that that's where it can get a little spooky, because they do still have the skill talent, and especially like skill talent in space. Where I'm on Ross St. Brown, Jahmyr Gibbs. We saw Tesla in the preseason. Like those guys are athletic dudes that can break stuff down in space. So you gotta beat them up front, I think, if you're Green Bay.
So I looked up right now. I looked up Micah Parsons versus Lions offensive line stats and matchups. Okay. You and I are in agreement. Penei Sewell is a top 5 offensive lineman, period, any position. Like top 3.
Not better than Lane Johnson, though. Don't say that.
I know. That's why I was being safe there. Yeah. That's what I was being safe. I already took some pot shot at lineman earlier this week. Yeah. So, okay, they've matched up 30 times. Penei Sewell versus Micah Parsons. Penei Sewell has allowed 6 pressures. They've matched up 25 times one-on-one and has allowed 6 one-on-one pressures. That's 24% one-on-one pressure rate. I can tell you this off the top of my head because I've repeated the stat 500 times. Cam Robinson led the league in pressure rate last year at 21%. So Micah Parsons turns Penei Sewell into Cam Robinson. That's how good Micah Parsons is. Like, that's like, I just can't reiterate this enough. He wins against the other elite guys. Against Taylor Decker, 12 one-on-one matchups, 5 one-on-one pressures, 2 one-on-one sacks. He's lined up against Taylor Decker 12 times one-on-one and has gotten 2 sacks. That's ridiculous. Like that. So it's like, that's the matchup, and that's what's so scary. It's a great game for the Packers defensive tackles because I think everyone's in agreement that maybe their weakness is against the run. So what does Devontae Wyatt look like? He's now in a bigger role. How's our guy Brooks look? Do you know there's 3 Georgia defensive tackles on this team, by the way? Warren Brinson, Azir Stackhouse.
I didn't realize Stackhouse was here.
He had a nice preseason, And, so Stackhouse is pretty good against the run, right?
I don't know. Well, he was until last year. Last year was by far the worst season he's ever played. I don't know what the hell happened.
Interesting.
But like in the years prior to that, he was always good when he came in relief duty, and it felt like maybe the extended role was maybe a little bit too much for him. But man, he's a good player in punches for sure.
And for here, he's probably just here to muck it up. Like, that's what this team needs. That's the irony of it, is it's actually what the Cowboys have needed too, which is so funny that Parsons is now going on another team that doesn't have a beefy defensive tackle. So I think Stackhouse starts getting some run because just body type wise, they need that guy, because Brooks is a gap shooter. Wyatt's kind of, I'm not saying finesse in a bad way, but just more like he's not like a guy that's going to eat blocks. Like, I'm not putting him at nose tackle to eat blocks. So going against a Lions reworked interior trio we talked about, I think that's just kind of a interesting little matchup for both teams there. Also, my last thing, a little parting shot at Kenny Clark, because I wrote about this. So this whole talking about Kenny Clark's going to help the run, and he is disruptive. Don't get me wrong. He is disruptive, but he's not a block eater. And that's what we're misconstruing with his addition to the Cowboys. I know Jerry Jones trying to sell us something, but I looked it up, and over the last 2 years, so not even including last season, but 23 and 24, his run stop rate, so that's a successful tackle for, a tackle that leads to a unsuccessful play for the offense. It was 8.8% over the last 2 years. Okay, what does that mean? So I looked it up. How many qualifying defense tackles? There was 25 over the last 2 years. He ranked 21st in that statistic. 22nd is Oso Odigizua, his new teammate, another gap shooter. And this is what you and I keep going at. They just got 2 gap shooters and 2 guys that go rogue. Right. So they didn't help themselves at all. At all. This is eye test and stats. Yeah. So
look, if you're going to go gap shooting route, who's pretty good at shooting gaps? Micah Parsons.
Maybe we should lean into that and pay them and build our whole defense around them.
Yeah,
I know. It just can't help ourselves. We're talking Lions, Packers have to take a shot. All right, the other side of the ball, though, this one's interesting, too, is Packers offensive line, which is a lot of good. It's a lot of solid from left to right. Rashad Walker, Aaron Banks, Elgin Jenkins, who moved to center, Ryan, I always mess up his name, Zach Tom at right tackle. But a lot of solid, just good, and they have some depth. They have their former first-round pick can back up a few spots. They might rotate at left tackle, who knows. The Lions have some great beef in the interior. They're going to miss Aleem McNeil, but you got DJ Reader, Tyleek Williams, Roy Lopez. You got Aiden Hutchinson on the outside as well. But anything else on this side of the ball? But I think this is also kind of a continuation of the Haas fight. Like the Haas fight's this entire game. It's both sides of the ball. Yes. But anything else on this, any matchups that you're looking forward to?
I mean, I think you could say that this, as a whole, like this trench matchup is more interesting than the flip side, because I think there's just a higher collection of good players here where where you're looking at
it's a lot of good.
When you're looking at the other side's like we got Micah Parsons, Penei Sewell. We'll see about the interior line on both sides. Some guys still need to prove themselves, even if we like it. But here it's like, okay, well, we know the Packers offensive line, like at their best, is a good unit. And we know the Detroit defensive line at their best with when they're healthy is also a good unit. And unfortunately, they got ravaged by injuries up front last year. And it's not just Aiden Hutchinson, it's not just Aleem McNeil, also depth guys like Marcus Davenport, John Kaminsky, who they brought over trying to develop, who got hurt and then had to retire. So these are that was huge for me. You're talking 4 guys off your defensive line right there. That's a huge chunk of your room. So to get those guys back, or are starting to get in the motion of getting those guys back and up to full speed, I think it just changes the complexion of this defense so much, because we all love Aaron Glenn, but there's just nothing you can do at the end of the season when you're that hurt up front, and you're also hurt in the back end too. So it's kind of like a fresh start for this Lions group, and I think if they're looking good and they're healthy, this is a real hoss fight, because Aiden Hutchinson's back. I don't think Aleem McNeil is back yet, is he? Because he tore his.
No, he's not.
Yeah, he's not back yet.
He's gonna be, but he's probably gonna be another month maybe.
Right, but still, that's why you spend first-round pick on a defensive tackle, Tyleek Williams, and they have the depth now to at least go toe-to-toe and give their offensive line, give their back seven a chance, to stand tall against what's a tough-ass Packers run game. I mean, I was kind of unsure when I was watching the old Raiders film of Josh Jacobs, like, this is really bad. I don't know. We'll see exactly how much it's the offensive line's fault when he gets to Green Bay. Oh, okay. It's like all their fault. Josh Jacobs still a really good player. They were 3rd in success rate on rushing attempts last year, 4th in red zone success, 4th in red zone success rate. So that's what's going to be, kind of the basis of this offense. I think the basis of this game as far as who wins or who loses, because I feel like they're pretty even as far as like secondary to wide receivers go. It's kind of like a bunch of like B players, I think, on both sides, and the trenches are where they're going to kind of find their bread.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. It feels like a front seven versus a offensive line and tight end battle, all the way, and just some strength too. Like Reader and Tyleek Williams and Roy Lopez aren't going to get a bunch of sacks. That's why you want Aleem McNeil back. Like, he's so disruptive. But these guys are all maulers, and so it's just going to be like. And the Packers want to create a bunch of double teams. They run physical runs, a lot of gap scheme stuff, duo, and everything. So they just create double teams. So it's just going to be these battles. Everybody just fighting for space. So like I'm very excited to see kind of how it plays out. Also, shout out to Lions kind of rotational edge, Al-Qaeda Muhammad, who might have to play because Davenport gets hurt every single year. But Muhammad has had some nice moments. My son Jack screaming, didn't really like that shout out. But but no, I do think that just a lot of good talent. I agree with you. This side of the ball has just got a lot more sure things than as opposed to the other side, which is more interesting, I would say. All right. So the Packers are 1.5 point favorites at Lambeau Field. How do you think this one plays out, Chuck?
I think the Packers win. In the one game sample that we'll have where everyone's kind of new and you're just rolling off the bus from training camp and playing, I think this is kind of where the elite talent shines. I think Micah Parsons has a big game to kind of drag him over the top towards the end.
I know this sounds like basic old guy way to look at this. Whoever's the home team, I think, wins this game. So that's the Packers in my mind, and not the weather and everything. Goff doesn't have to worry about the weather. I know that's a thing too, but that's nothing better than Lambeau week 1. As a former Vikings fan, that was always much better than Lambeau week 17. Lambeau week 15. That was, week 1 was a lot better weather and everything. So I'm with you. I'm going Packers, and I think they cover. I think it's a very tight game, but I think this is just going to be such a fist fight. And I'm excited to see what kind of, I'm excited to see the new Lions and their new version with the new coordinators, but I'm also just seeing what the Packers' next step is, because I think, along with everybody, I think they're shooting for a Final Four or Super Bowl finalist type of team.